One of the most straightforward definitions of disability that I've heard is a stigmatized bodily difference. It focuses on the cultural and social situation of the bodily difference, the fact that it's stigmatized. Which brings us to the two models that you can look at disability through, and one is the medical model and the other is the social model. The medical model focuses on the physiological aspect and potentially finding a cure for it. The social model talks about the ways in which the environment is shaped that essentially disable a person. There's the quintessential example of a person in a wheelchair is not disabled until they face a set of stairs. So if we're thinking about disability as a social and cultural construction, then it makes sense to think about how that works out in a musical environment. So what are some of the ways that rock subcultures relate to music and disability? Well, one way is that there is like a freak aesthetic. There's tropes of rock madness connected to like this genius authenticity, dressing weird, inviting stares. But then there's also the disability identity experience, how this different experience of the world, because of the different embodied knowledge, allows artists to explore creative pathways otherwise not explored by able-bodied people. Fortunately, disability is starting to become a bigger part of our cultural conversations, and you can click on that link to read more about it. Going back to the freak aesthetic, here's one example of somebody, a little person, Helen Wellington Lloyd, and her collaboration with the Sex Pistols. And she states that she became punk because of her disability. Punk allowed for her to have a place with a culture that was different. Sometimes when we're looking at disability, we're thinking about how different body types offer a different kind of experience and relationship with music that opens new opportunities. Stevie Wonder is a great example of this, and Stevie Wonder is not a new character to us. He got his start as a kid in Motown. He developed a technique of playing on the black keys so that he could feel his way around to get on the keyboard, because black keys are in groups of 2 and 3, whereas white keys are just all the same. Because of this, he developed a particular harmonic area that became foundational to a lot of the funk sound. So, disability benefit. A blind pianist gives a harmonic language to... Watch now in this brief example from Stevie Wonder's video Superstition. Pay special attention to the way his hands move on the keyboard during the shots where you can actually see them. Pay special attention to how he moves specifically on the black keys as he feels his way around the keyboard.
Oh yeah! When you're looking for a good band, check us out. When you're looking for a good
The band Beethoven's Nightmare calls themselves the only deaf rock band in the world. They play music, rock music, that is inspired by 70s and classic rock. All the band members are deaf, and they work with one hearing person who does the lead signing and singing. The three core members of the band got their start when they were students together at Gallaudet University, the deaf university in Washington, D.C. They found each other, each key musicians, when one person heard the other playing loud music in the dorm and they felt the vibrations next door. Ever since, they've been playing together off and on. In their music video, Turn It Up Louder, they talk about the deaf experience of music, how they rely on feeling the beat as much as anything. And so one needs to turn it up louder in order to have greater vibrations. They call themselves ASL Rock and Roll Crossover. They want to have appeal to the signing audience as well as the hearing audience.
Oh, yeah.
Essentially, crossover.
When you're looking for a good band, check us out. When you're looking for a good beat, count us in. When you're looking for a good sound, you'll hear us shout. When you're looking for a good time, you'll fit right in. If you're wondering what we're all about, we're the only deaf band in the world. If you can't understand all the words, all we need to do is turn it up louder. Yeah, turn it up louder.
In their song, they not only celebrate the way they experience music, but they also celebrate their deaf identities, even being playful at the end.
It's louder, make it louder, louder. Turn it up louder. Hey, what are you deaf?
You see me succeed, you rather see me bleed, but I'm real on 3D. We breathe the same air, still you act like I'm not here. Fingers tied, when I see you solemnly swear.
Signmark is a deaf rapper from Finland. He raps in sign language. Sometimes it's Finnish sign language and sometimes it's American Sign Language, which is widely known throughout the world. He usually works with a person who does the voicing. Sign language is a political act. It was something that people tried to repress for a long time. For deaf artists to use sign language in their work is a statement against that oppression. The oppression has to do with repressing their own language and privileging spoken languages. It was thought that sign languages were not as smart, but linguists have now shown that sign languages are syntactically complex and unique as spoken languages. Deaf communities throughout the world have experienced a lot of discrimination. There's long histories, and this video really speaks to that poignantly. You see kids, you see old people all kind of joining together in this statement, and it's a very powerful statement because knowing that background of deaf history is extremely profound.
Take my hand. This moment should be shared. I'm fighting fear. Fighting.
What else I like about this video is you get to see a lot of different people signing to music. So you get a sense for the musicality of sign language that's almost independent from the actual music itself. Different people feel the beat differently. And when you kind of take the volume all the way down to 0, you can really get a sense for that musicality.
You deserve to shine. Fighting. I'm fighting fear. Yeah, I'm fighting. I fight the fear. Be brave. Don't fall down. Be free. Do it now. Fighting. I'm fighting fear. Fighting. I fight the fear. Be brave. Don't fall down. Be free. Do it now.
So go watch the rest of this video on YouTube and maybe check out some other of Sight Mark's videos. The Sisters of Invention, a girl group from Australia, represents the intersectionality of all sorts of body types. It's an intersection of gender, race, sexuality, and ability. And none of these categories make a difference in terms of the joy in making music together. So go watch the rest of their video on YouTube and also check out their short documentary. You won't miss out.